Welcome to Scorched Earth. This is going to be a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon and Ascendant. If you don't know what your Moon or Ascendant signs are, have a look in the description box below. There's a link down there that will take you to a site that will give you your natal chart for free. And then you'll be able to see where all your placements are. Once you've got that, you should come back and have a look at the videos for your Moon and Rising signs, because you might find either A, that you resonate with those more than with your Sun sign, or B, it'll just give you a better idea of what's going on with you overall than you'll get from just your Sun sign. Each of the placements covers a different area of your life, a different aspect of you, so it's quite useful sometimes to feed into a bigger picture. What else to tell you? My books are now open for personal readings. I've got a scheduling link that's down there in the description box. It would seem, fully booked for May and mostly for July, but I've set the parameters so that I can't book more than 60 days ahead. So as every day goes past, so another day will open up at the other end. So it's just a case of keeping an eye on it if you want a personal reading, because there are no dates showing at the moment, I think. What else to tell you? Thank you if you're one of those people who booked initially in the first 12 hours of the scheduling link being open, and then had to put up with the clusterfuck, which was the payments thing. That is now sorted, and everything's running swimmingly now. But know that I am deeply grateful for your patience in that regard. And as always, my gratitude for your support with the channel. YouTube algorithms have changed since everybody's been at home, and I've kind of taken a bit of a hit on that. Just doesn't seem like my channel's appearing to new people at all. So I'm not worrying about it, but I am extremely grateful for those people who are with me and who comment on the videos and share them and like them, and, all that sort of jazz. People that send donations as well, that's always gratefully received. Very much so. So, just got a shiver there, right? So, with all of that out of the way, Bull Gang, let's have a look and see what's going on for you for the month of May. Can I have 3 cards for Taurus, please? Cards for Taurus. Ooh. First card you've got is the Hanged Man. It's a card of Pisces in the Major Arcana. Number 12. 2 more cards for Taurus, please. Oh. Page of Oceans in your current energy. And let's see what's coming towards you for May. What's coming towards Taurus? What's Taurus need to be aware of? 2 of Oceans, that's 2 of Cups. Right, at the bottom of the deck is you. We've got the Hierophant. So, let's get some clarifiers and then we'll get on with this. I'm using the Wildwood deck to clarify. After not having used it at all on YouTube for the whole time that I've been on here, it just suddenly sort of popped up at me and requested use. So, here we are. It's quite nice using new decks. I like looking at new symbolism and other people's interpretation of it. And I'm using the Lost Forest deck for the main read. So where is the Hanged Man here for Taurus, please? Okay. We've got the Star, which is a card of Aquarius, and we've got the 6 of Wands down there. Strictly Leo card, that. Right. Some more. Sun's coming out. How wonderful. It's a Page of Oceans here for Taurus. We've got the Mirror, which is the Hanged Man in this deck, so that's come out twice, and the Ace of Cups. I really like to see this here for you. Let's spin that around. And then tell me about the 2 of Oceans. Why is that here? Got the 5 of Stones, which is the 5 of Pentacles. That's the 2 of Cups. How are you? Come on. And the Two of Stones, which is the Two of Pentacles. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Page of Cups again. So that's a repeating card too. Right. The first card you've got is the Hanged Man, and this is in your recent past, touching on present. And this usually depicts a figure suspended upside down from a tree, right? And the idea is that he's willingly submitted himself to this treatment in order that he might see the world from a different perspective, right? And gain wisdom in doing so. And I really, really like to see this here for you, Taurus, because this change of perspective is something that's been necessary for you for a little while. It's something that you've been working on quite hard. And, you know, you kind of made some 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you know, that kind of thing. But there has been progress. And this card coming out here in its upright tells me that you really have made some strides in this regard. It's a very passive card. So it doesn't feel like... It feels like the work has been very much internal, right? And that absolutely correlates with what we've seen in the readings over the last few months. You might not necessarily have made any particular changes in your environment around you, but certainly there's been a lot of work going on inside. The cards that you've got to clarify are the Pole Star here in this deck and the Six of Wands. Now, the Pole Star, or just the star as it is in a normal deck, it's number 17 and it's the card of Aquarius. And it talks of a number of different things. I'm interested by the fact that there are trees. The symbolism on these 2 cards from these 2 different decks is actually astonishingly similar. In both, we've got a celestial body up in the sky and trees, you know, around it, right? They're very closely related. So the star talks about healing, right? And it talks about vulnerability, and it talks about trust for me quite often, because when we talk about following our guiding star, right, everybody understands what that means, right? It's following a hunch, it's following a thing, you know. But the important thing is that you trust that that's going to take you to the right place, right? Otherwise you just won't follow it, right? So there's a degree of trust, putting your trust in something. And for me, it feels like... trusting that you're on the right path for now, right? At least, like the strides that you've made in the internal work that you've been doing for yourself are actually starting to bear fruit, or if not quite yet, you see the potential of the fruit being born, certainly. But there's almost a vulnerability and an openness to yourself now. It's almost like you're unlocking doors internally, which have governed the way that you've spoken to yourself, certainly, but the way that you perceive the world, like all of it's kind of shifting. But at the root of it, there is this trust in something higher, and this could be your higher self, or this could be the universe. It's kind of understanding that looking up is the way forwards and not looking down, right? Looking down at the floor, down at the past, finding new ways to beat yourself up, because Taurus do that all the time. You know, it's kind of lifting your eyes up to something more. And the other thing that the star talks about, and in fact Aquarius generally, is vision, right? It's having a vision for how things can be different. And I feel like this is really, really important, because at points it's felt a little bit like you've lost your way. Right? You've been trying to navigate by what's on the floor, and the fact is it kind of all looks the same, right? There's no direction to be found there. By elevating your view up and navigating by the pole star, it's almost like you've found your place in the world. Not only that, you've found your location, you understand where you are, and you are now able to move in a direction because you've got the cardinal points, you know, like that's north, south, you know, east and west. You know roughly that it is possible for you to get somewhere, even if at this point you're not quite sure where you're going. And that's where the Six of Wands comes in, because it's that understanding, that trust trusting in this will lead eventually to your abundance. And I don't feel like it's in any particular, pecuniary sense, although it might well be, because once you align your energy, you kind of get blessed with certain things. But there's a real comfort, I feel, in this new revelation that you've got about yourself, your place in the world, and what you bring to the planet. As a Taurian, I felt a swell of pride happening over a period of time in the last few months that wasn't necessarily there before. It's almost like you felt like it was slightly indulgent, but there is now pride not only in yourself but in your position as a Taurian. You kind of get how important you are now, and like you are, the underlying theme for the entire reading. It's a sense of finding yourself. It's not looking down, looking up. Now, in your current energy, goosebumps. In your current energy, you've got the Page of Cups, and it's clarified by the Hanged Man again, and the Ace of Vessels. And I cannot tell you how wonderful this combination is for me, right? Because there's pages are messengers, yes, but this particular page is in the water, right? We usually see the page and he's kind of standing there and he's holding a cup and he's got that silly little fish that's kind of dancing around. And there's a kind of there's a whimsical kind of feel to that card. There's an ease with it, and it's supposed to be kind of messages of love, small messages of love. And for me, that usually means an apology of some sort. But I don't feel that from this card at all today. This is more about your ability to swim and navigate around in your own emotions. And we pay attention to what this seal's doing. It's diving down. It's like the isolation, the lockdown that half of the planet is experiencing at the moment, right? And the work that you've done has given you the space to look at your internal emotional composition almost, and lose the fear about kind of going deeper and investigating what it is. And this is very much the current energy that you're sitting in, and it's so much more comfortable than it has been for a very long time. It's nice to see, but more than that, that seal's got a real sense of purpose. It's got a real purposeful look on its face. It's not arsing around, it's not playing. This is headed for something, and it's something very internal to you. Now, the reason that I'm delighted to see these two cards here as they are is we've got the Hanged Man again, right? So this is, as it sits on my table, this is you diving down to this further kind of changes of perspective, right? It's almost like it can be like a domino effect. So once you start the work, once you start getting somewhere with it, right, and you start having these revelations about yourself, and you start being kinder to yourself, you get more enthusiastic about going deeper, and it actually becomes easier, right? There's so much ease with which this seal's coming down here towards, more changes in perspective. But what I love about this deck, right, is it's not called the Hanged Man in this deck, it's called the Mirror. And you notice how she's got one hand on a mirror and the other one is literally cupping the moon, right? Now, if you've seen any of my videos before, we know that the moon talks about things that are hidden, things that are obfuscated, and so for me, I tend to see it as the subconscious. It's all the stuff that kind of rattles along underneath that guides us, for better or worse, because it's old wounds and it's old triggers. It's things that lie beneath the surface that we aren't necessarily aware of all the time. And here is you, right? Not only clutching a mirror to be able to see yourself, but also holding on to that very symbol that talks about your internal space, and you're diving down straight towards it. It's kind of brave, but it's almost like the fear that you associated with any notion of doing this in the past has been completely removed. Right? It's a comfortable space for you now, and not only that, it's one that holds benefit for you. Yeah. all the water that's depicted on all of the cards that we've got here that have any water at all. The water is peaceful. The water is still. It's not churning around. There's not this huge sense of inner conflict. It's just comfortable. Yeah? She's got her mirror. She's got her moon. She's like, I am ready to look at myself. The depths, the true depths of who I am and what I stand for, why I'm here, why I do the things I do. Everything about me is now ready for examination. And then we've got the Ace of Cups, and I was so happy to see this because this is new love, yes, right? And absolutely can indicate that. I mean, it can indicate a lot of things. It can indicate pregnancy. Sometimes we see that with the, particularly with the page, messages of something new to love. That won't be for all of you, obviously, but that's the thing. But as well as new love, it can be a renewal of love. And I feel like this is your newfound comfort with yourself. This is a newfound sense of love for yourself. And in that sense, it is a renewal, because at some point when you were very, very small, before you started all this kind of mental self-sabotage and overthinking and all that kind of thing, like, you did love yourself. As a small, pure little being that came into the world, you did. And what you've done is so much work to kind of excavate, like, to come down and find yourself again, take all the crap off the top and really appreciate that somewhere underneath there is this pure, shining little being, right? Now, if you can make contact with that, and I feel like you are making contact with that, not only do you have that purity at the center, but you've also got all the wisdom and all the lessons that you've learned as you've grown older. Like, that reconnection with inner self is so, I think important isn't a strong enough word for it. It's something that's sadly lacking in modern society. And I see, in the intro video that I've got on my channel, I say, I want to help people, because most people that are walking around in some way are broken. And some know that they're broken and they're trying to fix themselves. Some know that they're broken and are making no attempt to fix themselves. And others have literally no fucking clue. And those ones that have no clue or don't do the work won't ever come back to this. They won't ever make that connection, right? It's fundamental. And there's so much peace there, right? There's so much peace. It's so peaceful that you're kind of calling people in to you now. It's raising your vibration, and it's resonating at a frequency that you are not accustomed to resonating at, right? And that's why it just feels so gentle and so peaceful. The final card that you've got for May is the Two of Oceans, and that's the Two of Cups, and this is interpersonal relationships, right? Now, it's a 2, so it's still very low and it's still very internal, and this could indicate somebody coming in, right? Possibly. But again, I feel like this is more self-work, right? It's possibly analysis of the relationships that you currently have, in your existence at the moment. It's the potential for a new one coming in. But it feels like an adjustment, right? It's an adjustment of how you perceive what a relationship would be, because it's quite possible that up until this point, there've been shades of codependency, there've been shades of overthinking, there've been all these kind of little self-sabotage things are part of what you've brought to the table. Now, obviously, you've brought other incredible, qualities with you, but because there's been that wounding that has kind of always shown its head somewhere, whether that's in insecurity or whichever way it resonates to you, it's kind of like getting yourself on a level and going, because you resonate at a different frequency, you are going to attract people who resonate at a different frequency. You know, there's the people who carry around a lot of wounds from childhood, you know, sense of abandonment and things like that, they tend to cling to new people because they're trying to fill that wound, right, that gap in themselves that was caused, you know, fucking decades before, potentially. And this is where cycles and patterns repeat. It feels like you're shedding that, you know, you're kind of bursting through into something new. And we've got the Ace, which is your love for yourself. And then we've got this card here. Now, I'm kind of erring towards it more being a comfortably emotional analytic state rather than necessarily a new person coming in, right? I'm going to throw that in there. It feels like you looking at your relationships, and they don't have to be romantic either. I don't like really emphasize that. They could well be your friendships, they could be your family situations, you know. As you evolve and as you grow and as you start to look at things with new eyes, like you can see the difficulties, right, caused by you or caused by someone else or whoever, you know, in the relationships that you currently hold and what you may have going forwards, right? This is what I mean. It's like a domino effect. Like once you've done the work on yourself, it gets very much easier to do the work on relationships that are important to you, or working out why particular relationships are important to you. And if they're important to you, what is the healthy thing to do to allow those to flourish, to allow those to be nurtured in the way that you want to nurture them without smothering them, right? Without them smothering you, in fact. Because the two cards that you've got to clarify this, the Five of Stones, which is the Five of Pentacles, and the Two of Stones here, right? Pentacles again. Now, the Five of Pentacles is a card that speaks about poverty, it speaks about lack, or it speaks of a fear of those, and that doesn't have to be financial. In fact, I rarely see it to be that way. It's usually some other kind of resource, and all energy is resource. So emotional energy, physical energy, you know, things of value to you, right? And when this card pops up, it's either losing something of value, it's being cast out by someone you valued, or it's being afraid of those things happening. And I feel like this is kind of what you're working on at the moment. It's understanding where those feelings of deprivation that you experience come from, because they have their seat somewhere. And it feels like you know they have their seat somewhere, and now you're looking for them, you know, actively looking for them. And it holds no fear for you anymore. The second card that you've got to clarify, and I feel like I'm going to pull a couple more because I want a bit more detail, is the Two of Stones, and that's the Two of Pentacles. And it talks about balance. Often it talks for the need for balance. There's a beautiful symmetry to this card with these two hairs here. And the key word on this card down here on the Wildwood is challenge, right? You are, as well as being a two, just as the Two of Oceans here, right? And so talking about internal spaces again, it feels like you're actively seeking to balance yourself out. You're kind of actually rising to the challenge of analysing in the correct way, like analysing in a proper way rather than overthinking, right? Analysing from an objective, mature standpoint. Everything. Now, this is where it starts to expand out into your wider life experience. Yeah, I get that. You know, and if it's something that I've been banging on about since I started this YouTube channel, right, it is the fact that it doesn't matter what is going on around you. Right? It actually doesn't, because perspective is key. Perspective is the only thing really that you have any kind of handle on. But you change your perspective about one little thing, and your entire life can change before your eyes with literally nothing changing in your external environment, because the only thing that's changed is the way that you see it. And when you can see things as challenges rather than you know, you being victimized by the universe almost. It completely changes the mindset that you approach these things with. When you can understand and take ownership of your own issues and then actively seek to improve them, you tell everybody around you that that's a kind of minimum baseline that you expect from them as well, right? You're not going to get approached by narcissists who are looking for people who need to people please, you know, people who place their own personal validation in their ability to make somebody else happy. You won't attract them at all, because they'll get within 100 feet of you and you're just kicking out a different frequency, a different vibration. They know they cannot approach you with their bullshit because you won't tolerate it, right? But what you do call to you, like a beacon in the dark, is those people who have a similar kind of approach to themselves, a similar sort of mindset. We've got the 5 of stones and 2 of stones. Right. I'll take that one because that one came out by itself. The rest do not all go in. Although to tell you what, they are kind of relevant. We've got the Fool, we've got the 10 of Cups, we've got the Ace of Cups, we've got the Queen of Swords, we've got the Queen of Wands. Like, I'm going to put them back in. But the 8 of Cups is really important here, because this is walking away from things that no longer emotionally serve you. And what you find is, when you emotionally level up, when you start seeing the world with different eyes, when you start withdrawing your energy from those situations and people that frankly give nothing back, right? Because you suddenly don't need external validation, it becomes very easy to turn your back and walk away from things that just aren't working for you. You know, and it doesn't have to be a shitty situation. It's just this isn't working for me. This is fine. You know, everything is transitory. Everything is fleeting. The only thing that's going to maintain is you, really, in your life experience. That's the only thing that you can rely on going forward. So, putting yourself in the best possible position to be your own best friend puts you in such an amazing position to co-create your own existence going forwards, right? And leaving behind those things, the old way of doing things, you know, the old way of approaching anything, in fact. Because I've been talking for months about there being something coming and Taurus being required to do it. And I've had people asking, you know, what that is. I have to say, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's just a feeling that I have. But I did Leo's reading yesterday, I think. And what came through in the meditation, what I was told was the biggest changes can be wrought by the smallest acts of kindness. And it's got goosebumps again. And I feel like in the absence of knowing exactly what, you know, like, life-changing thing is coming to the planet in whatever sense, you know, we can't all be Flash Gordon, right, and save the earth, right? That'd be ridiculous. But what we can do is be the change that we want to see in the world. We can lead by example, and that was very much the message that was coming through for Leo, and I'm getting a sense of this also being the case for Taurus. Here, be the change that you want to see in the world, and start small, right? Start with those small acts of kindness and show everybody else how you want to be treated, but how you think everybody should be treated, right? That's wonderful. That is absolutely incredible. The 2 cards that we've got are the Queen of Swords and the 3 of Swords in reverse. At the bottom of the deck, we've got we've got the Magician, and we've got the Hierophant, and we've got the Ace of Swords here, right? This is the truth. This is a clarity of thought, right, that you have not had for quite a long time. But there's you. Right, slap bang in the middle of not only this clarity of thought, this clarity of expression, but also the ability to co-create your existence in whatever way that you like. You know, if you are not happy with your life, you have all the tools that you need to make the changes going forwards, and you don't need to be afraid of doing it. You know, those people whose time is done now in your life will probably take themselves out, actually. I tend to find that happens with me, yeah. People just kind of fall by the wayside, and it happens holistically, it happens naturally. But if you are strong enough to be able to accept that not everything has to last forever, you know, sometimes people come into our lives and they do the job that they were supposed to do, whatever contract we've signed with them, you know, before we get here about it, and then they move on with their life, and then you move on with your life as well, right? It doesn't make you disloyal. It just makes you experience detached compassion, compassionate detachment, right? Over investing all the time is damaging for you, and it's damaging for other people, right? This is you coming to a place where you can kind of walk away from anything that requires you to do that, right? With a clean conscience, with an entirely clean conscience, because you're resonating at a higher frequency. The reason that I'm utterly delighted to see this here is because I feel like this is you becoming much more mentally discerning than you have been for a very long time. Like, we're not seeing the 9 of Swords here, we're not seeing the 8 of Swords, we're not even seeing the 10 of Swords, right? We're seeing 2 cards that speak about very clear, very rational, logical decision making, right? That isn't clouded by the past. It isn't clouded by any sense of heartbreak, right? You know, you've reversed this, and this queen's looking directly at it, right? See it for what it is. See that it was a lesson. See that it is not, it was never designed to be a way for you to continually carry on torturing yourself about it after that event has passed, right? It's all about lessons. You're thinking more clearly than you have done in a very, very long time, and you can see heartbreak for what it is. And let the swords come out. And you cannot heal this heart until those swords are removed. And being upside down, you know, gravity is going to do the work for you, right? Oh, Taurus, I just cannot even tell you how wonderful this reading is, how much heart I take from it, because there's real growth here, implied by everything that I see here, and there's ownership, right? You are owning who you are. You're taking responsibility for who you are, and you're understanding that you can do anything you fucking like. You are a limitless being, right? All the restrictions that are in place, I feel like you understand that you called those restrictions to you, right? and the level of discernment that you are now exhibiting. It's like, you know, you might not ever get rid of that little voice that kind of knitters away in the back of your head, that you know, makes you go over old circumstances and find ways to make it your fault, find ways to make yourself suffer about it. But with this Queen of Swords energy, you can identify it when it appears. You can say, okay, right, I hear you, I understand what you are. That's enough. Go and sit over there, right? And then you carry on doing what it is that you were trying to do, what this little voice was trying to sabotage for you. Off. Wow. I'm going to do an extended because, you know, because I love you, because you're Taurus. So if you're interested in that, the link's in the description box. But I'm actually really proud, and I'm feeling a little bit emotional because you've come so far just in such a short space of time, like just this year, this last... Wait, fuck, we're only just into May, right? So it's not even 5 months. The strides that you've made are incredible. And like a ripple effect, this is going to come out to affect every single aspect of your existence, right? It is like changing your life without even changing a fucking damn thing around you. But things are going to change around you, and you're going to be comfortable with it. That's the important thing. It's not going to leave you feeling abandoned and isolated anymore. There's a gentle acceptance to it. Yeah. Love people while they're here, and then, you know, if you need to, you move away from them and they move away from you. You know, you thank them for the experience and then you move on, right? It's fucking awesome. I love it for you, Taurus. So I'm going to leave it there. I'll be back in about a fortnight for the mid-months. But until then, take care.